We're up here in Minnesota's Red Lake. We're in a little different area than we normally fish. We're on the north shore of Red Lake. I'm with Danny Burkholder of Outdoor Authority. This is kind of a family sport. When you ice fish, you have a lot of fun. With me is T-Dog Trent Einigner. Yeah. And then, of course, we've got Killer KK. He always likes to come ice fishing, especially on Red Lake. You know, these two lakes, Red Lake and Lake of the Woods, are basically, I would say for ice fishing, Minnesota's most popular lakes. The one thing about Red Lake is that it's kind of an eater fish factory. So is Lake of the Woods, although Lake of the Woods you can get the monsters once in a while, but the bread and butter fish are the eater size fish. Now the one thing that we want to do with the next bite is we're going to show you some little tips to help you have better success in lakes like this. So come join us and you too can get your next bite.
I want a next bite.
Just looking for the next bite, next bite, next bite, next bite. Just looking for the next bite. Yes, we
Upper Red Lake is located in northern Minnesota and is an extremely popular early ice fishing destination. The max depth of the lake is only 15 feet, so it freezes early, shortly after freezing over. Walleyes hunt and forage along the first break out from shore in roughly 6 to 10 feet of water, before moving out further to the mud later in the season. Ice fishing in such shallow water can present some unique conditional challenges, starting in particular with sonar.
One of my favorite aspects of ice fishing is that you actually get to take and watch your electronics and see what's happening down below the water. You get to see fish come in, you get to see how they react to your lures. One of the things I like to do is put 2 holes in my shack, one for a jigging rod, one for a dead rod. Now one of the problems we've got here on Red Lake is we're fishing so shallow that the transducer cone is very, very narrow. You can actually not see a second hole when you got your transducer in one of the holes. So a little solution I've got to that, something new it's called a Lowrance Fish Hunter. Now what this is basically a fancy bobber. You throw it in your hole, and it floats on top of the hole, and it's actually sending across Wi-Fi its sonar signal to my phone. Or you can put it to any other tablet or device. And so what you'll see on this phone is that this band on the bottom, the red band, is actually the bottom. And then you'll see a line just above the bottom. That's my lure sitting there. And because I'm not jigging it, it's a nice straight flat lure. Now what you're hoping for is that a fish will come in. And when a fish comes in, what you'll see is a blob just starting on the side. It starts coming up after that lure. And if you see that, if they don't take it, you know right away just to grab the rod, maybe give it a few jiggles, and a lot of times that'll trigger that fish to bite. So the nice thing in here, even though I've got a big shack and the lures are spread apart here, I can actually see down both holes. I can see when a fish comes in. I can make a move to try and catch that fish, and oftentimes I will actually land that fish because I can see it. So nice. Come on. That's so cool to see him. It's a swivel. Come on up here. There he is. There we go. All right, that worked just as planned. Basically, the beauty of this is I've got a dead rod like we oftentimes do, but with this shallow water, the transducers aren't going as deep, so or showing as much down there. So I put that little fish hunter, had it on my phone, saw him come in, jiggled it twice, bam, got him. There you go, buddy. Wave goodbye. 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 That was a long goodbye.
The next bite is brought to you by Mercury Marine. Go boldly. Tracker boats. Fish the finest. Bass Pro Shops. Your adventure starts here. Berkeley. Catch more fish. And Motor Guide. Accuracy matters. Closed captioning for the next bite is provided by Power Pole, the ultimate in shallow water anchors. Ice fishing isn't that different than open water fishing in terms of weather. There are beautiful sunny days, and there are brutal, wet, cold, and windy days. That's why coming prepared makes all the difference in terms of the experience.
How do you feel? Feels decent.
For this mid-December walleye bite, sonar is only one adjustment to make when fishing shallow.
You've been eating pretty good.
Yeah, he has.
Looks like he finished off all those rods.
Tiny details like swivels and knots should also be a big consideration.
A lot of people will use a lot of different main lines. Some people use Nanofill. I'm using Berkeley 100% fluorocarbon on mine right now. I like fluorocarbon if I'm fishing in shallow situations. What you want for sure is to have a liter of fluorocarbon when you're ice fishing. The fish have a little bit more time to look over the bait. So I'm using actually on my liter material here a 6-pound test, even though we're fishing for walleyes. You should actually always put a swivel in line about 18 inches above your bait. When you're ice fishing, all of your baits will fall vertically. And if you're letting them fall on a slack line, whether it's a jig or a spoon or a shiver minnow like we have here, there's going to be some rotation of the bait. And through a number of jigging strokes, you can get line twists. If that jig or that bait is sitting down below spinning, the fish don't like to bite it. It doesn't look very natural to them. So the swivel helps with that. In the summer months, we usually tie like an Albright knot to attach our main line to the leader. In an ice fishing situation, especially a shallow water one, Albright knots don't work that well when you're attaching real thin lines, real skinny lines. You get some knot slippage, you can get some breaking, especially like here we're only 5, 6, 8 feet deep. You hardly ever will have that happen with a little swivel. The size that I like to use is about a size 12, so it's pretty small. Don't be cheap on your swivels. Get good quality swivels and use them on your tip-ups, on your hot box setups, your snare rods, and your jig sticks, and you're going to get a lot more fish.
JP! Hey, Eric, I got one!
You got one? Pretty good fish, Danny?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Ooh, man, by those tail wags, he looks like a good fish, huh?
Yeah, he's right at the bottom of the hole.
Man, he's fighting. You got him on a snare rod?
Yeah.
Yeah, aren't they fun?
Oh.
He got his head crossways to the hole, but he didn't quite get his snoot in there.
Good thing I got 6-pound test on instead of 4. Ooh. Usually I run 4.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Look at that one. Oh, you got all tangled up in your other line, too.
Yeah,
Huh?
I thought I felt him hit that first. And then...
Oh, man, this is a good fish. Look at that. Whew. Here, Danny, why don't you try to get your other line out of there.
Ooh, look at that.
Ooh, he wasn't hooked by much.
Oh, he's not done. He's
gonna
biting
bite
me.
you.
Get that one
Oh,
out.
let's see. Okay, we're free of the lines. Oh man, that is a beautiful fish. I don't care where you go. Holy man, buddy. Here you go. I think he's going to be in great shape because he was pretty darn active. Yep. Nice job.
Sight Bites. Real-time fishing information from all the pros in one place at walleyechatter.com.
It's always a tough decision for an angler or for a family to decide on which new boat they want to go for when it's time to come buy a new one. And really in the north, one of the things that we really look at is where we fish. Might be on the Great Lakes, might be on some of the inland lakes in Wisconsin and Minnesota, might be on some of the river systems as well too. If you like big water, you typically want something that's deep fee. And for those of you that are familiar with Tracker, you remember the the Targa 18. It's been out for quite a few years. Fantastic deep V aluminum boat. And you'll notice I'm actually sitting in a brand new model, the Targa 19. So you're gonna have obviously a little bit extra length than what you would in the past. And one of the things when I got in this boat the first time is what I noticed is how much room there is. Huge wide beam, wide gunnels with rod storage, plenty of room to mount your rod holders, the VersaTrack system throughout the whole thing. Now the beauty is, going up to a 19-footer, the rating for the outboard is now 225, so you can put a little bit bigger outboard, which is going to be nice for Great Lakes scenarios. If you're an angler that fishes Great Lakes, fishes Green Bay, Lake Erie, does a lot of trolling on some of the bigger bodies of water, even some of the bigger inland lakes, you basically are going to be able to span more waves with the extra added length of this Targa 19 now. It's just going to run a little bit better because of the longer length and the more horsepower you have. So everything's going to be a little bit safer for you in bigger water with this larger platform. But the one thing that I really want to talk about too is this hull, this Targa 19, is not only for the angler, it's also for the family. This is the Targa 19 walkthrough, and that's going to be your fishing platform. You're going to have the big live well in the back, live well up front, center rod storage, but there's also that combo platform too, and that's for the family. That's for fishing some and also for going boating, for skiing. It's going to have that larger back deck with the flip up platform with the extra added seats. You're going to have ski pylon capability, padded seats in the front, a bunch of different options depending on what you and your family would like to choose. If you're going to fish in the north and fish some of the big bodies of water, this boat will handle pretty much anything you want to put it on.
Upper Red Lake receives a great deal of pressure because of the opportunity it presents for early ice fishing access, and its walleyes are educated when it comes to presentation.
That's the way a dead rod's supposed to work.
With any pressured body of water, shallow or otherwise, don't be afraid to test new or different lure adjustments.
That's one thing about a dead rod. Even if you ain't fishing, it still is. This one I just had a little kind of pinkish red jig on there. Nicely hooked.
Things that the fish may not have seen before.
Right in your feet. Ah! Yeah. Yes. Ooh, this is a good fish. Get that transduced throat. Oh, there he is. Now, come on, get your head in. Come on, buddy. Come on. Yes, yes. Oh, there's a good one. He's a fatty. Oh, look at that fat one. He's been eating good. He just came in, again, just looked at it and corked it. Just smoked it. I don't know. I'm going to have to start calling this a technique for ice fishing. This, boy, he just crushed it too. Let's see if I can get him off. I have to say, this has been pretty cool. I've had a lot of bites today. Man, he really, there we go. I've had a lot of bites today, and I've only had 2 fish turn it down. And for walleyes, even on a good bite, that is pretty amazing. And we're well into the day, so we're gonna get them back in the hole here. Come on, there he goes. That was a good fish. I gotta spend a little bit of time here and talk about this. I'm gonna call this technique clapping because that's exactly what it is. I've got 2 sidewinders right here, and what I did is I set them up on one split ring, and one's a little smaller than the other one. So I was thinking all fall long, walleyes like sound. Certain lakes, they basically really like that racket. It kind of calls them in. When you drop this up and down, it has double the flash. It clacks, it makes noise. And, you know, there's a lot of guys out here today, they've been having a lot of fish come and look and swim away. A lot of fish come and look and swim away. That's very typical for walleyes. I haven't had that today. I've had literally every fish but 2 fish hit when they come in, and you know, that is pretty darn rare in the walleye ice fishing world. So I'm going to continue to clap here.
The next bite is brought to you by Mercury Marine. Go boldly. Tracker Boats. Fish the finest. Bass Pro Shops. Your adventure starts here. Berkeley, catch more fish. Lawrence, find, navigate, dominate. Motor Guide trolling motors engineered for anglers. Strike King, legacy of domination for 50 years. And Power Pole, swift, silent, secure. Hot topics, leading information, and tackle and techniques to make you a better angler. Presented by Mercury.
For the last couple of years, I've been taking my walleye boat down to Florida in the winter to do a little saltwater fishing. And a lot of people have asked, well, what do you got to do to your Mercury engine to make sure it's saltwater ready compared to a freshwater engine up north? Well, what's interesting is we've got an actual 350 Verado here, the exact engine that I use, and we're going to go over some of this stuff. I've got Robin Singer here. He's the Merc professor, knows a lot about engines, way more than I know. So what actually makes a Mercury engine corrosive resistance, whether it's a saltwater version or a freshwater version?
Well, let's just talk about the heart of the engine itself. We use a unique loss foam process when we build the block. So this foam goes away. We'll come out with low copper alloy aluminum, and that really becomes the block.
So the metal just basically melts this away.
Dissolves away, and then we get a casting, then we go to work.
Okay.
And our next step, we actually put a coating on that so that the paint will adhere to it better. Then we go and do an EDP, which we actually charge the metal, so now the paint will stick to it. And then on certain areas on the engine, for instance on the brackets or down in the lower unit, anything that touches the water, we do a powder coat, and we're pretty exclusive on that alone.
You know, we talked about the low copper alloy and stuff, but stainless steel is an important part of all of these components too, right?
The shiny stainless, and we use a 300 series, whether it's on the shift shaft, this here being the prop shaft down here, you can see where the prop would go on.
So the big parts have stainless steel, but I know you were saying even the bolts, these are all stainless steel bolts. Some of them are just covered with different things or coated with different things so you can attach different types of metal and not have corrosion.
Dissimilar metal, that's what it's all about. And you'll also see we use a lot of resin, a lot of acrylic, which is good for UV and also for corrosion. Things, when you get looking at the engine, if there's a metal part under the engine, we either do an anodizing on it, we paint our starters again to extend the life. Something as little as the harnesses, we make sure it's a waterproof connector, it can withstand heat, it can withstand cold. You know, there's a lot of things that happen to make this engine live in that environment.
So what's interesting is if you want to fish freshwater or saltwater, every Mercury engine is built the same on the inside. It's just the cowlings that are different colors. So whether you fish freshwater or saltwater, Mercury engines are going to get you out there all the time.
Perhaps one of the most unique aspects to this mid-December Upper Red Lake walleye bite is the fact that everyone, Keith, Trent, Danny, and Gary, are all doing something a little bit different in their presentations.
That's what makes ice fishing so cool. It's cat and mouse game, and you never know how they're going to react.
All are based on creating some type of micro commotion to call the walleyes in, and all are having good success with their variations on this theme.
And the rest is history.
From clapping with blades to beating the drum.
So one of the more effective cadences I've found out here on this trip, a little bit different than other times I've been to Red, is that instead of just, working a spoon or a body bait like a shiver minnow, working it up and things, what I'm finding is I actually have to draw the fish in a little bit. And the way I'm doing that is actually pounding the bottom. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 times, and then I slowly work it up off the bottom about 3 or 4 or 5 inches, and then that's where I start to wiggle it. If that doesn't work, I just go right back to it. Especially when you're not marking fish. It just seems like this is a cadence that is drawing the fish in. I call it beating the drum. So beat the drum, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then slow up, wiggling as you go, and try and get those fish to come in. Now, once they come in, then you want to go to your old tactics, such as lifting it up above the fish, trying to get them to race up after it. One little trick I've also found this week is that they're falling for the free fall. And what that is once they come way up and they start to get after it, but they don't take it, they start to fade away, what I do is quickly drop my rod so that the lure ends up just below them, stops, and I give it a couple pops, and as they fade down, they see it, and they're hitting it there. So between beating the drum and bringing them in, and the free fall and halfway stop, that's how I'm catching these Red Lake walleyes.
There's one. Okay. What do I got here? Ooh, he's got some pretty smooth Kavajecz here. I think he's gonna be pretty big. Bigger than what we have been catching. Get this transducer out of here. Alright, I'm just gonna stay down. Oh, come on, buddy. Gotta be getting close. Oh, nice hedge. Oh, yeah, there he is. Come on, get your head in there. Yes! Yes! There's a good one. Wow. That's a nice fish. He just came cruising in. He wasn't in for even a millisecond and decided he wanted this little shiver minnow. I've been really doing good with this bait here since I put it on, a little pink one. Yep, they say pink in Lake of the Woods and in Red Lake. Well, this is a pink holographic one. Here's the end result. That's a nice fish by anyone's standards. Came right in, just smoked it. So we're gonna let this guy go. He gave me a lot of fun though. And there he goes. See ya.
Lure sitting just above the bottom. So if I... Hi, Danny. Nice perch one. Another perch. The perch are coming in like crazy. We love perch.
Let me just get my brain in gear. I've got a real simple tip for you that's going to help put more fish in your boat.
A lot of times when I'm fishing in the winter, a lot of times when I'm ice jig,
Feel like I gotta move.
Danny Burkholder is with Outdoor Authority. Along with walleye, Upper Red Lake has world-class northern pike fishing and at times 14-inch crappies. For more information on this premier outfitter, visit www.outdoorauthoritymn.net.